The air smelled of diesel, sweat, and the sea. Down here, 300 feet below the surface of the North Atlantic, there was no day and no night. There was only the hum of the electric motors and the slow drip of water condensing on cold steel. A young machinist's mate had not breathed fresh air in 19 hours, and he had no way of knowing whether he ever would again. This was not a battlefield anyone could see. It was a steel tube the length of a city street, packed with more than 40 men, sliding silently through the dark. But here is what almost no one understands about the men who served aboard a submarine in 1943. They were not the hunters the propaganda films made them out to be. By that year, on the German side, they had become the hunted. And the odds against them were almost beyond belief. Of roughly 40,000 men who served in Germany's U-boat fleet during the war, about 30,000 never came home. That is a death rate close to 75%. No other branch of any nation's military suffered losses on that scale. The historian Clay Blair, who spent decades compiling the records of every patrol in his 2-volume work, Hitler's U-Boat War, concluded that serving aboard these vessels was statistically among the most lethal duties of the entire conflict. To step aboard was to accept odds that no gambler would ever take. So what was it actually like, hour by hour, inside that steel tube? Imagine the morning watch. Though the word morning meant nothing here. The boat was a Type 7, the workhorse of the fleet, about 220 feet long and barely wide enough for 2 men to squeeze past each other in the central passage. There were no separate quarters for the crew. There was no privacy of any kind. Men slept in narrow bunks stacked along the hull, and because there were not enough bunks for everyone, they practiced what the men called hot bunking. One sailor crawled out of a bunk still warm from the body of the man who had just taken his place. The blankets never had time to cool. Food was stored in every conceivable space. Tins were jammed under floor plates. Sausages and hams hung from the ceiling in the control room, swaying with the motion of the sea, so that men had to duck beneath them as they worked. Fresh bread lasted only days before mold crept across it in pale fuzz. The crews had a grim nickname for the moldy loaves. They called them rabbits because of the white fur that grew on the crust. The men cut the worst of it away and ate the rest. There was nothing else. Fresh water was rationed so tightly that washing was nearly impossible. Most men did not bathe for the length of an entire patrol, which could stretch to 2 months or more. Their uniforms grew stiff with salt and grease. A peculiar, unforgettable odor settled into everything, a mixture of diesel oil, unwashed bodies, rotting food, and the chemical tang of the batteries. Veterans who survived the war said they could never fully describe it, only that they never forgot it.